A nonprofit tied to Mayor Brandon Scott's wife stopped operations after receiving roughly $100,000 taxpayer dollars.
Patrick Huff from our Spotlight on Maryland team investigates the unanswered questions about whether those taxpayer funds will be returned.
The fabulous, phenomenal, brilliant, and beautiful women of Be More Empowered who are empowering. Yeah, let's clap. There we go.
That was Mayor Brandon Scott at a July 2023 press conference where he praised leaders of a nonprofit awarded $80,000 as a part of a taxpayer-funded program. What he didn't mention was that one of those leaders he praised was his then-girlfriend and now wife. Our investigation found that Mrs. Scott's employer received an influx of taxpayer money shortly after pairing up with the mayor. And now, that organization is pausing operations. Mrs. Scott started working as the director of operations for Be More Empowered in September 2021. She started dating the mayor in 2022. Her employer began to receive money through the Baltimore city government in 2023, totaling $34,950 taxpayer dollars by 2024. And that's not all. The Downtown Partnership of Baltimore awarded Be More Empowered $80,000 through a taxpayer-funded program in July 2023, a day before the Scotts went public with their relationship through a pregnancy announcement. The taxpayer-backed Baltimore Children and Youth Fund sent Be More Empowered $62,500 from July 2023 to June 2024. Meanwhile, Be More Empowered has not filed a tax form since 2023, meaning it's almost a year behind its required filings with the IRS. And none of its previous tax forms mention Mrs. Scott's position or salary. Plus, Be More Empowered is listed on the Maryland government's charity database as delinquent.
So this one is a bit of a head-scratcher.
That's Linda Parsons, a professor at the University of Alabama specializing in nonprofit accounting. She said Be More Empowered needs to explain how it's managing taxpayer money.
If I had taxpayer dollars and I said, I'm just going to stop what I'm doing, I would expect that the money providers would be asking me questions, and I would have to be very clear with them where their money was, how long I expected to need before I was back fully operating.
Be More Empowered did not respond to questions about whether they will return taxpayer money. Mrs. Scott lists on her LinkedIn that she stopped working at Be More Empowered in September, which was the same month the nonprofit announced an organizational pause and was sued for not paying rent. Attempts to reach Mrs. Scott for comment were unsuccessful. The mayor's office did not respond to the following questions. How did Be More Empowered spend its taxpayer money? Will you request that Be More Empowered returns the funds? Was it a conflict of interest for Baltimore City to send Be More Empowered money as the organization was employing Mayor Scott's partner? Parsons raised questions about Be More Empowered's ties to the mayor.
It's definitely a conflict of interest. I'm not saying that's that it's a problem necessarily, or that it's not allowed. However, when there are conflicts of interest, they need to be acknowledged. There was no communication about the conflict. There's been no communication about where the funds are. There's been, no communication about what this pause means or how long it's going to be. There's no reporting that is required. To me, those are all giant red flags.
Be More Empowered received $25,000 from the Baltimore city government in 2023, stemming from the Federal American Rescue Plan Act. In 2024, Be More Empowered received $9,950 listed for the Youth Works program, which runs under the Mayor's Office of Employment Development. The $80,000 Be More Empowered received from the Downtown Partnership came through the Boost program, which is funded through a combination of private and public money. Mayor Scott sent $1.6 million in ARPA money to Downtown Partnerships in 2022 to help back the Boost program Be More Empowered benefited from 1 year later. A spokesman for Downtown Partnership told Spotlight on Maryland that Be More Empowered spent the $80,000 in accordance with its contract, which he said he could not provide, a point that Parsons questioned.
When you have government funds, the contract is not available is not an option. Once you agree to take government funds, whether from your city or state or federal government, it's your obligation to be as transparent as possible.
The Boost grant to Be More Empowered was intended for the organization to spend on a new office space downtown on North Howard Street. However, a previous Spotlight on Maryland investigation found they never moved into that location, instead opening an office on North Charles Street, where they were sued in September for not paying rent and since moved out. Downtown Partnership's president, Shalonda Stokes, has a salary of $317,000. Stokes' Instagram shows several photos and videos of her with Mrs. Scott, including attending a Beyonce concert together last summer in a group that also included the wife of Maryland Governor Wes Moore. A spokesman for BCYF emphasized that one of its grantees chose Be More Empowered as its fiscal sponsor. The spokesman did not respond to questions about how that money was spent and whether they'll get it back. We'll continue to track how nonprofits spend your taxpayer dollars. For Spotlight on Maryland, I'm Patrick Huff.
I'm Kai Jackson. Thank you for watching. Here's another video to watch. Also, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel.